Up to the year 1782, many English convicts who had been sentenced to prison for life were sent across the Atlantic Ocean to America. For many years the convicts cost the government nothing, since the owners of the ships who carried them to America sold them for the highest price. In 1783, America broke away from the English rule and no more convicts could be sent there. Since there were no place to send the convicts, English jails became full. Men, women and children were still sentenced to transportation, but there was no place to send them. When the prisons were full, the convicts were piled in old rotting ships called hulks, which were moored all around the English coast. Lord Sydney was worried. What was he to do with the thousands of convicts? He sent for Sir Joseph Banks, his great friend. "I have just heard from the Nautilus. Africa is no good, too barren and sandy. What shall we do with these wretched convicts?" "Botany Bay, my lord, Botany Bay." The climate is good, no wild animals, some good soil, plenty of fish, wild spinach, long grass water, timber and fuel. What more could you ask? Therefore, my lords, from this day, August the 18th, 1786, preparations will be pushed ahead to send 750 convicts to Botany Bay in New Holland. Isle of Wight, March the 16th, 1787. "That's the Sirius, Joe. You'd better signal. She's the first. There's 10 more to come yet." And then on May the 12th, "I hear we're off tomorrow." "Yes, Captain Phillip came aboard today." On Sunday, May the 13th, 1787, the First Fleet left England, and here are the 11 ships that went: Sirius, Supply, Fishburne, Golden Grove, Borrowdale, Prince of Wales, Alexander, Lady Penrhyn, Charlotte, Scarborough, and the French ship. In charge of the fleet was Captain Arthur Phillip, who was to be the first governor of the new colony. Before the fleet sailed, he inspected all the ships. "I will try to make the journey quickly and safely, but remember, obey orders." However, very soon, "There's an urgent message, sir, from the Scarborough, sir." "What is it?" "Mutiny, sir. The convicts are trying to capture the ship. Send a message to Lieutenant Johnson on the Lady Penrhyn." Mutiny was smashed. 2 of the ringleaders were brought to the Sirius and flogged. "That will do. 24 is enough. Cut them down and let this be a warning to the rest." The First Fleet's journey began in England on the 12th of May 1787. They sailed down the west coast of Africa and landed in September at Rio Janeiro. There they resupplied. Captain Phillip in his diary reported favourable passage across to the Cape of Good Hope. From the Cape of Good Hope they sailed right across around Tasmania to the east coast of Australia looking for Botany Bay. And that was in January 1788. Phillip transferred to the Supply and with the Alexander, Friendship and Scarborough sailed on ahead. As soon as the Supply entered Botany Bay, Phillip became worried. "It looks very shallow. Put 2 men on the lead. That must be where Cook landed. There's some natives on the shore." "Cast anchor. Lower a boat. I want to have a closer look at this place." Phillip found that the ground was flat and marshy, the grass lank and sour, the bay shallow and exposed to fierce winds from the sea. The soil was sandy, the trees small and of poor quality. Most important, there was no fresh water. When the rest of the fleet arrived, Phillip sent for Captain Hunter. "We'll have to find a new spot." "Aye, aye, sir. I'll have 3 boats manned and ready." "We'll make northwards. Keep close to the land. There's an entrance on the starboard bow. Pull hard, men." For the first time, white men sailed into Port Jackson. This is how Phillip described it. "We got into Port Jackson early in the afternoon, finding the finest harbour in the world. The different coves were examined. I fixed on the one that had the best spring of water. This cove, which I honoured with the name of Sydney, is about 1/4 of a mile across at the entrance and about 1/2 a mile in length." Phillip then returned to Botany Bay, and on the 25th of January he came back to Port Jackson in the Supply. Next day, before the rest of the fleet arrived, Philip landed. The flag was raised and a toast was drunk. To the new colony! To the new colony! Back in Port Jackson, the men convicts were being unloaded. This is the end of the journey. When you get on shore, report to Mr. Clark. Watley, you're in charge of this boatload. Where are we? New Holland, near China. As they landed, they were put to work. A store had to be built, tents put up for the officers, huts built for the convicts, the governor's house erected, stores landed, hospital built, the animals and fowls enclosed. After a few days, Philip sent for Lieutenant King. "I have a most important task for you, Lieutenant King. You must leave here at once, taking this supply, and land on Norfolk Island." "Norfolk Island, sir? Have we any maps?" New Zealand flax grows there. It will make fine ropes for the Navy. Take soldiers, convicts, and a few women." "How about food, sir?" "I can let you have a little. The soil is said to be good on the island. You must grow what you can." "This is a cursed land. We're all dying. Even the soil is dead. Nothing grows. We're all starved." Soon all the ships except the Sirius were getting ready to leave. Heavy rain and fierce winds blew down the tents, smashed the simple huts. "I'm not starving. I know a way to rob the stores. They'll hang you, Barrett, if you're caught." Barrett was caught. Philip knew that food meant life. Those who stole must die. Late in the evening of February the 27th, 1788, Michael Barrett was hung. For stealing potatoes, another convict received 300 lashes, was chained to 2 other men for 6 months, and his ration of flour was stopped for 6 months. Food was very scarce. "You'll have to go to the Cape Hope, Hunter. I know the Sirius is leaking, but I need the supply." "I'll do my best, sir." Hunter sailed right around the world in the leaky Sirius. He arrived back in Sydney in May 1789. "Arrived just in time, Captain Hunter. Your stores will last a year. Hasn't the settlement grown anything yet?" "No, we haven't the tools to dig deeply. We can't even root out the tree stumps." "I've discovered some good soil at the head of the harbour. I named it Rose Hill. I'd like to see it, sir." In 1790, the small settlement of Parramatta was starting to prosper. It had 39 officers and marines, 450 convict men, 50 convict women, and 15 convict children. In September 1789, Mr. Clark, who was in charge of stores, came to Philip. "Rats, sir! Hundreds of them! They're increasing all the time. They've eaten some stores and ruined much more. The butter is all gone. What shall we do?" "Put the dogs in the storehouse." "How long will the stores last, Mr. Clark?" "Only a few weeks, sir. The pork is already 3 years old, and the rice is full of maggots." Captain Phillip anxiously watched for ships from England. "Would it not be a good idea, sir, to post a lookout here at South Head?" "Yes, Captain Tench, the boy, Daniel Southwell, will suit." But no sail appeared. Philip was desperate. Everywhere the men and women began to lose hope. They were forgotten. They would starve and die in this lonely, far-off land. "Gentlemen, our food supplies are so low I've decided to send 80 soldiers and 200 convicts to Norfolk Island. The soil is good there." "Who will command?" "You, Major Ross, will be in command. Take both ships." "What about me?" "When you get back, Captain Hunter, you will sail the Sirius to Batavia for supplies. Godspeed be with you. We can't last much longer." February passed, March dragged by, but still no ship appeared on the wide sea. It was now over 2 years since they had arrived. Philip was desperate. "A man died of starvation yesterday. If only Hunter would get back from Norfolk Island, the Sirius could bring food from Batavia. Oh, I must cut the rations once more." "But you can't. They're on half rations now." "It'll be hard to get until the Sirius brings us food. If the natives attack, we'll be too weak to fight them." The new rations for a week for each person were 4 pounds of flour, 2.5 pounds of salt pork, and 1.5 pounds of rice. If help didn't come soon, the colony would die. Then on the afternoon of April the 19th, "Captain Tench, sir, the flag is up, the flag is up, we're saved." Captain Tench hurried to the observatory at Point Mascaline. He looked through the telescope. He hurried to Philip. "News at last? Is it a ship, sir?"
Food!
"The flag is up, sir, but Southwell didn't seem excited. He should be. It's the Sirius." "Something's happened. It's the supply, sir." "King was on the supply. Wrecked, sir. The Sirius has been wrecked. Only God can help us now." "No one was lost, sir. The livestock were rescued. The Sirius caught fire after she hit the rocks. Some convicts were very brave. What do we do now, sir?" "I don't know. I must think. Please leave me, gentlemen." Later. "The ration will be reduced again from today. We'll all die. Where's Governor Phillip?" "The governor will talk to you later. We have plenty of food so long as no one steals. It is immediate death for stealing." The ration for 1 week was now 2 pounds of pork, 2.5 pounds of flour, and 2 pounds of rice. Governor Phillip sent for Lieutenant Bull. "We have 1 ship left, our last link with the outside world. You will sail her to Batavia, Lieutenant Bull, and return with food. With all speed, you understand? With all speed. Thank you for trusting me, Governor. I will not fail you." "Excuse me, Governor. Surgeon White desires to see you." "Send him in." "What is it, White?" "The rations, we only have enough meat until the 2nd of July. Flour will run out in August and the rice will be all gone in October. We must abandon the settlement." The whole colony watched the supply sail out through their heads. "Godspeed!"
We're all alone now.
"Where's Batavia?"
How long will she take?"
"What if she's wrecked, eh? What then?" Then on June the 3rd, 1790, "The flag's up! The flag's up! To the observatory, come on!" It was a ship at last, the Lady Juliana, first of the Second Fleet. Within a month, 3 more ships arrived, the Surprise, the Neptune and the Scarborough. "The Neptune is in the cove. I think you ought to inspect her." "Why?" "Her captain is a murderer. 281 men, women and children died on the voyage." "Impossible! I'll go at once." "What are those objects in the water? There, near the rocks." "Bodies, sir. Dead, diseased bodies. Over 20 have been washed up." Out of 1,024 convicts in the Second Fleet, 281 died on the voyage. There were now 2,025 people in the colony, of which 488 were in hospital. Philip was at his wits' end. What to do with a weak, dying, starving convicts who had been thrown into the colony? 100 of them will never work, many more will die. I have no medicines to spare, and not a farmer, a bricklayer or a carpenter among the lot. Fleet came Lieutenant John MacArthur and other officers of the New South Wales Regiment. They came to replace Philip's faithful Marines and soon began to grumble. "I tell you it's not right. Soldiers working like convicts, everyone on the same rations, will soon put a stop to all that nonsense." Food was still scarce. Philip gave orders that great efforts must be made to grow food at Rose Hill. "How many rods does a convict hoe in a day, Mr. Dodd?" 10, Your Excellency." "Increase it to 16. "If the farms were all like this." "Whose is it?" "James Roos, a freed convict." "The soil will grow. Good crops then." One day while exploring, Philip was wounded. A whale had been washed ashore at Manly. The Aborigines from miles around were feasting, and Governor Phillip came looking for his Aboriginal friend Bennelong. "It is the white leader. He comes to take me back to Sydney." "Kill, kill, kill the white man." "Oh, get this out! Get it out! I'm falling!" It was a month before Philip recovered. "I've just heard the natives are restless at Rose Hill. Send reinforcements." "Yes, sir. Are you sure you're feeling better?" The wound healed, but Philip was not well. He had pains in his side, he couldn't sleep, and he began to lose weight. So he wrote home and requested leave. Before he left, Sydney had become a well-known port. "Who are you? Where are you from?" "The Philadelphia, from America. We have all kinds of goods for sale." and the first rum was sold. Philip was very ill. He could not wait for the new governor. On December the 10th, 1792, he took a last walk with his friend David Collins. "You want me to stay? You'll leave me?" "Yes, you are the one of the last who are left, Collins. The settlement will need you. I don't trust Gross or MacArthur. I'll come back one day." But Arthur Phillip never came back. On December the 11th, 1792, the Atlantic sailed out through Sydney Heads, and watching the small settlement fade from his view was Captain Arthur Phillip, Australia's first governor. Here are some important notes about the Aboriginal people that lived around the Sydney harbour, called the Eora. Phillip also had to adopt a policy towards the Eora Aboriginal people who lived around the waters of Sydney harbour. Phillip ordered that they must be well treated and that anyone killing Aboriginal people would be hanged. Phillip befriended a Eora man named Bennelong and later took him to England. On the beach of Manly, a misunderstanding arose and Phillip was speared in the shoulder, but he ordered his men not to retaliate. Phillip went some way towards winning the trust of Eora, although they remained wary of the settlers. Soon, a terrible disease, smallpox, that was believed to be on account of the white settlers and other European-induced epidemics ravaged the Eora population.